Hello everyone, David from Mark Lindsay and Son Plumbing and Heating. Today I got a special guest with me. This is Perry. He's one of our senior techs, comfort advisor, and resident nerds here at Mark Lindsay and Son Plumbing and Heating. So today, Perry, we want to talk about spring tune-ups and like to hear what you got to say. What is the importance of that?
So spring tune-ups, any tune-up, Dave will probably say the most important thing about tune-ups is, as a mechanic, about 80% of all the calls that I go on, all the demand service calls that I go on, I can attribute to one of two factors every time. So it's either A, some sort of fault or shoddy installation practice, or more commonly, I could attribute it to a lack of maintenance. And I'm talking 80% of the calls. Only about 20% of the service calls I ever go on is it an actual failure with the manufacturer's part.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So when it comes right down to it, I'm going to say that anybody who's interested in preventing a possible failure during, it's usually a very inconvenient experience. The systems don't fail when we're not working them that hard. They always fail when we're working them the hardest. So it's always on the hottest day, the most uncomfortable day. It's going to be the most inconvenient day when people have their entire family coming over for July 4th barbecue. And they're
Right at the worst moment.
and that's when the equipment's going to fail. And right about then, people will be kicking themselves. Well, why didn't I do the preventative maintenance? So,
All right, so let me ask you a question. A lot of people hear a lot of times that there's an issue with their compressor. What does that mean?
So compressor. So, the compressor is the heart of the system. It's what pumps the refrigerant around in a constant cycle. And on the inside of the house, the refrigerant picks up the heat and it trains out, it trucks out that heat like a little train. It goes out to the outdoor unit where that's where it disembarks all the little heat passengers, right? And it expels the heat from that condenser unit, from that outdoor condenser unit. Then that train of refrigerant comes in, picks up more heat on the inside, keeps going around in cycles like that. All that is a pump. The compressor is a pump. It just keeps pumping and it stays on. Well, that machine, that motor, it needs something to cool it down. Otherwise, it'll overheat and seize. Well, there's three things that cool a compressor down, and I'll state them from least important to most important. The least important way that compressor cools down is the air that gets pulled into the condenser, the side of the condenser, and then it gets discharged upwards at the top. Well, that air passes over the compressor and helps to cool it down. That's one of the ways. The second way, and more significant way, is inside the compressor there's oil.
Okay.
All right, and either the pistons or the scroll mechanism inside, it's lubricated, and that helps. When you have metal on metal, it keeps the metal from expanding, overheating, and expanding and seizing. But that oil moves around with the refrigerant, so the refrigerant kind of pumps the oil out of the compressor, and hopefully there's enough oil still sitting in the compressor, but hopefully that oil comes back. So if the AC system was installed in such a way where someone put in inadvertently an oil trap, what's going to happen is all the oil is going to end up leaving the compressor and not coming back, and we're going to have the same overheating situation. So one of the things we do on a tune-up is we make sure that the compressor has oil in it. Last but not least, certainly not least, the most important thing that the compressor relies on to cool itself down is the cold refrigerant that comes back to it, the cold gas, refrigerant gas that comes back to it. So what happens is a lot of people over time develop leaks in their AC system, and people have heard about them. They've had a technician come and either top them off with Freon or put more Freon in. What people don't realize is those leaks do get bigger, right? And they could, even within the same season, spring more leaks. The more refrigerant that leaks out of the system while they're still running it, the bigger the chance they're going to, at some point, run that compressor when there's not enough cold gas coming back to it, and that compressor is going to overheat and seize. At that point, you have a dead compressor, and that's when just about any reputable contractor is going to be recommending that we replace the equipment. So that's very important on the tune-up to determine the refrigerant levels.
So Perry, a question then would be, a lot of people will call us up and say, hey, I've got a frozen line, or my system's frozen and see ice.
Yeah.
What do we do about situations like that? What's the best thing for them to do before we can get out to them?
So the best thing, if they see ice, the best thing they could do is shut their thermostat, turn the cool off to the off position, but take their fan, where if the thermostat has a fan where it says fan switch that says fan on or fan auto, they want to put the fan in the on position. What that does is it stops the outdoor unit from running, so it stops the cooling from happening, while at the same token it's circulating the fan, which is going to help to defrost that ice. Now ice happens, systems freeze up for one of two reasons, Dave, and it's always one of two reasons. There's no reason outside of it. The first reason is lack of refrigerant, which means they have a leak in the system. The second reason is lack of airflow, and probably the most misdiagnosed problem that any consumer out there, any homeowner has out there when they call an HVAC technician out to the house. One of the most misdiagnosed problems is improper airflow. So it could range anywhere from a dirty indoor AC coil that doesn't allow all the air to go through it. It could be down to a dirty filter. A lot of times, unfortunately, it's undersized ductwork. And there are a lot of contractors who will go out there and if the customer complains that their cooling wasn't enough, they'll slap in a bigger unit, when in reality, because the ductwork can't move it, they're actually making the problem worse. So it's very important when we size a unit. And it's very important when we go out to do the maintenance that we're checking into their airflow. You know, we want to make sure that there's no blockage in the airflow. We want to make sure their filters are clean. We want to make sure their coils are clean. And many times we identify that we actually have to clean an evaporator coil in order to get the system to run properly. And ultimately, it's just another one of those things that's part of our checkups.
And Perry, what is the average life expectancy of a well-maintained AC condenser?
Dave, that's a great question that I wish I had the best answer for. You know, the truth is the homes that you and I grew up in pre-1990, those systems seem to last 25 to 30 years, and unfortunately, that's what a lot of people have in their heads. In today's day and age, the manufacturers are selling the equipment to us, the contractors, and telling us that the life expectancy is 12 to 15 years. Just about every manufacturer nowadays, they give a 10-year parts warranty. And that's because the major component failure starts happening just afterwards.
Right after, just like a car.
So, but again, just like a car, right? They're machines.
Right.
And we put about 100,000 miles on these machines a year, and they last for 10 years. That's like giving like a 1,000,000-mile warranty, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You can't get there without doing some sort of maintenance, right? If we neglect it, then we're going to have to correct it at some point.
Absolutely.
Right?
So another question is water. Let's talk about water when it comes to AC. Why is that important, Perry?
All right. So this is probably the one. This is the call that us as a contractor, we're going to dread more than any other call, Dave. The truth is, every hour of operation, a typical AC system, for every hour it's operating, it's probably going to produce about 3 to 5 gallons per hour, right? That happens in the indoor unit, and we have to manage the water away. So a lot of people will look at their own AC system. Even today, they could take a look at it, and they're going to see some sort of plastic pipe that comes off their AC coil.
Okay.
The water gets managed away. We usually manage it out of the house, and it's all done by gravity. Sometimes, especially if it's in a basement unit, we do it using what's called a condensate pump. For anyone out there who has an attic unit, probably the single most important reason why they're going to have us out there to do a maintenance is to blow their condensate drain free. What happens is over the winter time, sometimes spiders could crawl inside it, they could nest, and now they turn it on for the first time in the summertime, and the water is blocked and it doesn't go down the condensate drain, but that's not going to stop the AC system from creating it.
Right.
So the AC system, the drain pan inside of it overflows, the water ends up spilling, and anybody who's ever had overhead water damage because of their AC knows exactly what I'm talking about. So it's just much better for them to have somebody like us come out there and blow that drain out at least once a year, so that they never have to deal with the ramifications of having to redo all their ceilings.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And real quick, last question for you, Perry. Air quality. Why is that important? How does that help our customers? What can we do for them?
Dave, that's the big buzzword, right? Air quality. So for years, there have been products to help air quality in AC systems. but it's never been more important than today. You know, we've gone through the whole COVID-19. We're still going through it. Not to talk about viruses just yet, but Dave, every AC system has an AC coil on it, and it's these fine aluminum fins, right, and that get cold. And as they get cold, right, we're passing 75-degree air over, say, a 40-degree coil. And what happens is it condenses. It wrings water out of the air. And it's no different from taking a nice cold can of soda outside on the deck on a 93-degree day. And that can of soda is going to sweat, right?
Right.
So the AC system is running, and any particulate that makes it past the filter gets lodged on this coil.
Okay.
Right? It's this wet coil. It turns into this little paste. Well, that particulate's organic material. It's dead skin cells, it's dust mites, it's pet dander, pet hair. And that organic material is going to sit on this cold, wet coil in this cold, damp environment that we then encase the entire thing in complete darkness. Dave, what do you think I get that?
I think you're gonna get a lot of things in your air that you don't know you're breathing in.
That's right. So what happens is, and it's not unknown, this has been going on for years and years. The AC coil is the petri dish of the house.
Right.
That's where we get microbial growth and whatnot. So there have been systems to help mitigate that. And just people, a lot of contractors don't talk about them. There's something out there called UV purification, where we can bathe that coil in ultraviolet light, and that ultraviolet light does two things to help us out here. Number one, it's going to naturally decompose organic material, so it'll literally burn that particulate away. And number two, it's going to eliminate one of those conditions that say mold needs to grow, which is darkness, right? The 1-2 punch is now there are systems that actually ionize the particulate as it goes through the airstream, which attaches itself to other airborne stuff, like viruses.
Right.
So right now, I mean, we have products out there that could actually attack viruses like influenza and even coronavirus.
Wow, that's amazing.
So, you know, obviously it would actually be socially irresponsible of us to not tell our customers about this, because not just us, but every contractor, we're in a position where we could do something to help mitigate the spread of this virus. Like, I can't promise anybody when they leave their house they won't be exposed to it, but I could certainly drastically reduce the chances of them passing it to a family member once they're inside their house. So shame on us if we're not talking about it.
Absolutely. I mean, anything you can do to protect your home and your family should be number one. And
Absolutely.
we definitely want to do that here. Every house we go into, we want to make sure that they're completely comfortable in their environment and to know that we're there for them.
Yeah.
So that's fantastic, Perry. Thank you so much for being here today.
No problem.
Guys, again, this was Perry, one of our senior tech comfort advisors. We're going over what the importance of a spring maintenance is and getting it checked every year to make sure your system stays running on the day that you wake up and all of a sudden it's 100 degrees outside and you're not left there sweating. So thank you guys for watching. Again, Perry, thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate that.
Appreciate it.
Guys, give us a call today to schedule your maintenance. Our number is 973-728-8900. We are 24/7 for all your needs, not just HVAC. We do plumbing, water conditioning, and well work. So call us today to find out more and to get ready for the summertime that's right around the corner. Thank you, guys.
Take care.